Did you know that there's a very haunted Dr. Seuss book?
This book is called The Foot Book that was published in 1968.
It's obviously intended for young children, and it seeks to convey the concept of opposites through depictions of different kinds of feet.
Now, this book was the first book that Dr. Seuss wrote after the death of his wife, so he worked on it all day, every day as a coping mechanism. Now, one particular copy of this book is now in a paranormal museum in Virginia.
The book apparently was owned by a family who claimed that every time their daughter read it,
they would hear these children's voices whispering in the dark, and they constantly had this sense of being watched. And when paranormal investigators checked out the history of the book, it was found that it had originally come from a house where there was a serious murder, and the red stain on the cover of the book was from blood. So since they found that out, no one has been reading it, obviously, and to this day it sits behind a glass case.
Did you know that there's a very haunted Dr. Seuss book? This Chatty Cathy doll from 1959 had a very dark side.
Now, this was considered the world's most famous talking doll for that time. It was able to speak 11 different phrases when the little string was pulled on her back. She would say things like, "Let's play school," or "I love you so much." And it was just such a revolutionary technology for the toy industry.
She was supposed to be a 5-year-old girl that had blonde hair and a short bob style and blue eyes. And she was the second most popular doll of the 1960s after Barbie.
Millions of people owned her, and the thing is, a lot of people had complaints. Some people said every once in a while their Chatty Cathy would talk in this creepy low man's voice, and it would completely spook the kid that was playing with it. Other times kids would complain that their Chatty Cathy was talking in the middle of the night when they were trying to sleep, which is especially weird because in order for the doll to talk, you had to pull a string on her back. It wasn't like an easy button to press or anything. So a lot of people were returning Chatty Cathy.
This Chatty Cathy doll from This is a story about a doll that actually aged.
Now, normally when you own a doll for a very long time, it starts to naturally deteriorate. But this particular doll actually aged, like got wrinkles, got older. It ended up looking like someone in their late 80s or 90s. So a lot of people believe this doll to be extremely haunted.
This anonymous family originally got this doll on Christmas. She had beautiful long hair, eyes that sparkled, a dress with a lace trim.
And the little girl played with it for years and years until eventually she got older and grew out of it.
And it was still in good condition when it was placed in a box in the attic and forgotten about.
Years later, the family was cleaning out the attic and they stumbled across the doll once again. But this time it looked wrinkled and extremely aged. It says the arms were stiff and mummified. They said the eyes were the most haunting part about this doll because they looked so human, and they instantly detected this presence with the doll like a spirit. And it still just remains a huge mystery as to what the heck happened with this doll. Because in my family, we still have dolls from the early 1900s and they did not do this.
This is a story about a doll. This Chatty Cat. Did you know that there is a place in Mexico called the Island of the Dolls? As you may have guessed it, this site is famous for hundreds of dolls and doll parts hanging from trees and scattered among the grass.
This island used to be the home of a man named Julian Barrera, and one day he found a dead girl's body in the canal. And since that day, he started to collect and display dolls and toys in hopes to keep away any evil spirits.
Today, the island is believed to be haunted by the ghost of the drowned girl, and local legend even states that the dolls have been heard whispering to each other. They've been seen moving their heads and arms, and even opening their eyes.
So this is just a very eerie area with an eerie history, but I'm still extremely fascinated by it.
There is a place in Mexico called the Island of... Here are some of the most dangerous and weirdest Happy Meal toys that were ever given to kids.
A lot of these are from the 80s and 90s, but I do remember some of them.
First, we have the Ronald McDonald glove puppet. This was given out in the 70s and 80s.
Now, I'm sure we can all agree that Ronald McDonald is already creepy as it is, but this toy was actually suffocating children because when you give very little kids plastic bags, they put it over their face. So this was removed from Happy Meals by the 90s.
They also came out with this Ronald McDonald mask in 1974.
And it wasn't dangerous in any way, but a lot of kids were afraid of it.
They had what was called the Tickle Feather, which came out in 1982.
It was just made out of foam, and people were encouraged to go up to strangers and tickle them. Parents literally complained about this because, as you can tell, it's a very weird concept and could be a little dangerous with strangers, so they removed it almost right away. There are so many more, so we'll have to make a part 2 at some point.
Here are some of the most dangerous and weirdest. If you ever see a random staircase in the woods, you have to get away as fast as you can.
never climb them. There was a story going around a couple years ago stating that there are abandoned staircases in national forests around the world, like deep, deep in the forest away from anybody. It's just a staircase, no other structure attached to it. Some stairs are in ruins, some are perfectly sturdy, some are iron spirals like the kind you'd find in a lighthouse, and they literally just reach up to nowhere. And there are so many different theories as to why these stairs are there and what actually happens when you climb them. Only a few have ever dared to climb the staircases, and the people who have report feeling unnerved and unwelcome or even nauseous when they're up on the stairs. Some people say the stairs lead to another dimension, other people say it leads to hell. Others say that's why so many people and kids go missing in national forests, because they climb these stairs and they're never seen again. If you ever see a random staircase in the woods, you have to get. This is a teddy bear that is so dangerous it has to be locked up. This bear is located in England in Bolsover Castle, which was originally built in the 12th century. And one of the strangest things about this place is that inside of it, there was a bear named Mr. Ted that is said to be extremely cursed and haunted by something evil. Now, staff are so afraid of him, which is why he is locked in a glass case surrounded by chains, which is so weird to see because you'd never think someone would be, like, threatened by a teddy bear. Apparently, this bear is known to cause headaches and nausea to anyone that is standing near it. There are also numerous occasions where people have heard this bear growling at them. There was this one time a news crew was allowed to go to the castle to see this bear, and at 3 a.m. during the witching hour, all the cameras turned off, and the producer got so sick that he was taken to the hospital. So this bear does not play around. This is a teddy bear that is so dangerous. You're about to hear some of the creepiest sounds that have ever been recorded. The first sound is the sound of Saturn. It's actually a really eerie noise. It's a reminder that space can be noisier than one would expect from. The next sound is a tornado.